You know, you ended the call by thanking analysts for all the questions about phones, but reminded them that Qualcomm is so much more than a communications chip company now. How do you see these earnings proving that out?
Look, first of all, great talking to you, Emily. And strategy is working for the company. It's really working. We are now growing across whole business in a number of different end markets. Hence, it's yes, is a great story. Will continue to be a great story. I think we're doing well there. Um, I guess like no good did goes unpunished as by doing well in handsets. I think we get all those questions, but the reality is the IoT growth has been incredible. We grew 61%. And auto, we added $3 billion to our design win pipeline within the quarter. So the company is truly changing from what is perceived to be a communication company for the handset market. It's really a connected processor company for the intelligent edge. And hopefully that message came across.
You've gotten so many questions over the years about your relationship with Apple, including from yours truly, but the call focused a lot on Samsung. Is it better for Qualcomm to have Samsung as a customer, a successful customer, as opposed to Apple? And if so, why?
Well, that's a very good question. And I think it goes to the heart of what our mobile strategy is. So here's the reason we're doing so well in handsets. And we had the outline in the call that actually one of the fastest growing, revenue for us and silicon content and of course earnings is on the processor side. So we we put the following strategy in place. We want to be synonymous with premium and high tier Android. When you think about a flagship Android, you think Snapdragon. And Snapdragon 8 is really becoming the platform of choice across every OEM, from Samsung to Vivo, Oppo, Xiaomi, Huawei, Honor, to build their phones in the flagship category. And what's happening, go back to your question, when we sell a, a Snapdragon 8 series into a Galaxy S22, from a revenue and in an earnings standpoint, is probably equivalent of selling modems to 5 iPhones. So it's a great trade. So, and especially when you look at the decision made by Samsung as a result of the strategy of being very focused and the Snapdragon being winning in all categories, the best smartphone camera in the world, the highest DxO Mark scores, the fastest AI, lowest power with graphics and CPU performance. That is driving the shift from 40% to 75%. So Galaxy
Right.
S21, we're 40%, now we're 75% plus.
You know, you've been pretty optimistic about supply issues easing through the end of the year. And I just got off a call with Apple CEO Tim Cook, and here's what he told me about supply, at least over the last quarter. He said, we did experience supply constraints, but they were significantly lower than what we experienced in the December quarter, and they were all silicon shortage related. So the industry-wide issue with silicon that affected us on several of our products. Didn't get a lot of color on supply issues in the current quarter, but how would you square that with what you're seeing?
Look, it's very consistent with what he said. If you remember, we said that in this year of 2022, we expect supply to improve dramatically. That it is true. We said that the second half will have significant improvements in supply. That is happening. But having said that, we still have more demand than supply. We are now not the main constraint, we're supply constraint. And especially for the company, which is now part of the digital transformation trends that you see in enterprise, and that's driving a lot of growth in our IoT business, in addition to auto and handsets.
Now, you gave a huge target for revenue coming from automotive, $16 billion. And I'm curious how quickly we get to that massive total, given where the business is today, it's growing, but it's still relatively small.
Yeah, no, it's the way to think about automotive, and I think that's the reason we provide that metric of the design wins that we have. We're winning the future, silicon in the automobile industry. with 26 brands now, we see traction with our Snapdragon digital chassis. We're winning across digital cockpit, connectivity with the cloud, and now ADAS and autonomy. And the way to think about it is when we talk about a $16 billion design win pipeline, you think about cars that are going to be launching in the 24, 20, some in 23, then 24, all the way to 25 timeframe, and then they stay in production for 5 to 6 years. So it's almost a contracted backlog, and we just added 3 billion to the metric. It used to be $13 billion in the quarter. We had 3 billion more, and one of the biggest components
Okay.
of that is our contract with Stellantis.
Now, Qualcomm, as you've said, you want Qualcomm to be judged by how well it transforms to a company far beyond phones. And we have seen Qualcomm take a little bit of a beating along with other chip companies, though, of course, the shares soared today. Is there something that you think investors still aren't seeing that you want them to see in terms of this broader transition?
Oh, absolutely. The way I will answer your question is investors have the tendency to just think about the handsets, and just because we're doing well in handsets, we did grew 50% on a market that was flat to a negative bias, and we grew 50% in the year, 56% in the quarter. But the reality is there is a broader story with Qualcomm, which is our technology is going to power those billions of devices that are really enabling the cloud economy. And we see that happening with the growth rates that we have in our IoT business, 61% across consumer, the edge networking, and enterprise. And just as I was watching you right before you made a comment about the new drone of Snap, that's our chip. That's one of our many IoT categories that we have.